today, Travis. Just going through, we are looking at Rapid Platform. So just to give you a kind of technical overview at 30,000 foot view, Rapid is really made up of four main components. The first component of that is a dynamic database. So that dynamic database can be anything within the system. So we can kind of come into the designer here, and you can actually see here are all the tables. This is all built on SQL Azure. So every single client has a separate SQL Azure database for them, which means that doesn't have to be a common model. We have a whole bunch of templates of common models, but they have the flexibility to be able to change it. So as you can see, here are all of the things that go to make up this solution. So you got budgets and accounts. If I go into accounts, you can come in here exactly like you would in an SQL database. You can create a column types, all your basic ones that you will have in an SQL database. Two call-out ones that we have is actually computed fields. So actually writing raw SQL for computed fields, and then secondly is subqueries. So actually using the SQL to grab data from somewhere else in the database to bring it back into a tabular view, which is very useful for stuff like invoices and things where you're aggregating kind of line items and stuff. Once you've created the items in here, you can go into this interface here and build your interface. So build your forms, your activity feed, and then this here goes into making up what the actual system is. So let's have a look at kind of how that works in the real world. So let's go into CRM. We've got leads in here. Leads can be displayed in a board or on a list. These are fully configurable as well. So you can actually customize how the board looks. You can drag and drop those pages around. But we can go in here and go fake Tim's. This is the information that you've got for a lead. From here, you can convert a lead. This will convert a lead across to an account. But on this lead, you can see kind of your activity. This is all the notes that have been put into the system, but we actually have the ability that any change within the item also gets logged in here. And another cool one from a heavy technical point of view is every single thing within our system automatically has what we call version history turned on, which means I can tell you that this item has only been changed twice. And if I wanted to look at what it looked like originally, I can just go back to the previous version. So you've got a full history table in the SQL database. Straight out of the box, everything within the system has that by default, which really bulks out the ability for reporting and everything as you're moving forward within the system. This gives you the ability, as you can see in here, we've got CRM, we track accounts, contacts, leads and everything like that. Really gives you that CRM functionality, but using those same tools, you could do projects. So you can come in here, we can see, let's say it's a rapid build. One of the things that this highlights really, really well is the fact that we have files against items within the system. All of our infrastructure is built interfacing with 365, so heavily integrated with 365. We do have the workflow engine and the database are all custom IP that we've built, but we use Entra ID for all the authentication. So if you are an organization that uses 365, you automatically get SSO. Everybody gets SSO straight out of the box, and we put files in SharePoint. So you get all of the benefits of SharePoint and the stuff that you're already using without having to kind of log into another thing or do anything like that. They are just easily available, and you can have them against any item within the system. So as you can see in here, we've got files and projects. We can look in here and have a Word document that here's the current priorities. You can have a look at the project scope PDF. So you can kind of see everything that has come through. But you can also actually see that these documents were actually generated from within the system. So the system can actually generate. I'll show you with the workflow engine how we can generate these documents. But as easy as this, you can actually see that these files are stored in SharePoint. So this is just us displaying in our interface the files that are sitting in SharePoint. So you get all of the benefits of SharePoint, all the Word working with other people and collaboration stuff, all the Excel, any benefit that you get from SharePoint is automatically built into the application. We just make it much easier for you to see. From the point of view of projects, you can have things against a project, objectives, deliverables, risks, exclusions, budgets. So you can configure this to actually be, if you have less than this, we can take these tabs off, which is pretty easy for us to do. If you have more than these, you can add more on. Project management, you can see you got your task list here, but you've also got tasks board. So you can see those same exact details on a board rather than on a list, but then some people want to see it on a Gantt. So then you've got the ability to actually have a Gantt chart in here, actually schedule them using the Gantt chart, but the data is exactly the same data. You're not having 3 sets of data. And that's one thing within the system that we try to not duplicate data if we can stop from doing that. So you look like you had a question.
yeah, I do. So as a user, I create these modules, right? Like
yes,
they're user driven. And when I create a module, do I inherit all of this functionality, like this tab structure on the basic layout for that module, or is that custom built by the user per module, or is it a mix of both?
There is the option for both. So we have, it's for different use cases. We have people who very specifically know exactly what they want. So we will build specifically exactly what they want for them, or they can build it themselves. We can give them a blank version of this so that they can customize it till the cows come home. What we found, which was our initial thing, we thought people would want to build from scratch. Turns out people actually like to have a template that comes in. And we can have multiple different layers of templates. You can have a little template, you could just want CRM, or you could just want project management, or this here that I'm actually demoing to you, this is actually one of our templates that you can actually say, cool, you'll start from here, but you can actually edit pretty much everything within the system. There are a couple of tables that are system tables that the system doesn't work without, like tasks and notes and users and stuff like that. You can't edit those. But other than that, like the projects table, if you want to come in and a project in your organization has 27 more fields than this, no problems. You can just go in, come in here, go to columns, add your extra columns to your projects, and away you go. So you've got the flexibility to do either. You can either come in with pre-built templates and then adjust from there, or you can come in blank if you know exactly what you want. But we're finding most of our clients are coming into a template and then tweaking it, just because from a speed to value point of view, it's much easier to do it that way.
Yeah, absolutely.
As you probably picked up from the system, when you have, and you're technical enough to understand, when you have access to build tables in an SQL database and do relational lookups and do all of those different sorts of things, you can pretty much build anything. It gives you the flexibility to be able to build what your organization needs in the structures that you need to. And that's the first piece of the 4 pieces that we have within the system. Second piece is taking that data and being able to actually display it in a kind of a dashboard way to be able to actually show that. So what we've actually done is we've embedded Power BI within the application. So instead of having to have your users kind of have another license for another thing, we actually include it as part of the application. And as I mentioned before, because we have a separate SQL database for every client, they have their own database, we can give them direct access to that database. So these reports can now be written straight from the database. You don't have to go through APIs. You don't have to do anything like that, which means you can, any data that we capture, you can report on. So actually giving people full autonomy of exactly what it is that they need to report on. This one here, this projects dashboard, this is a Power BI report. And as you can see, you've got all the power of Power BI within the system without having to worry about licensing or anything like that. One of the cool extra features on Power BI is the fact that we found that our clients actually have reports like that full overview project report. But sometimes you actually are in the context of a build. So we're going down to rapid build and we actually want to see that report, but we want it to be automatically filtered down to just that project. So you can actually configure the system that this same report, so that's the same report that you saw last time, but it's just automatically filtered to this particular project. So now you can put it on a project or on a client or on something, and it will automatically, instead of you having to go out of the experience that you're in and go to a specific reporting thing and go and get your details over there, you can do it all in one interface, which is pretty cool.
So this reporting infrastructure, that comes part and parcel with any module I create, right?
Correct. Correct.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep. So if you come in with templates, like CRM here has a reports, some template reports that come in basically for them straight out of the box, and assets and everything. So these reports will come in with the template. So if you're coming in with a template, it will generally come with Power BI reports as well.
Awesome.
So that's the second piece of the puzzle. Third piece of the puzzle is actually dynamic forms. So we found that you've got kind of this application. This is really an admin portal for the application, for people who are kind of internal people, your more senior admin people who need the access to all of this different data. But when you're getting to the point where you're just asking for someone for an approval, you're asking someone for a specific piece of information, asking them to come into a more complex interface like this can get a bit overwhelming for them. So we actually built a forms engine, and that forms engine allows us to create internal as well as external forms. So there's three ways we can consume these forms. One is anonymous forms. So this is an anonymous form. Somebody could put this on their website. I could put my name in here, Bob Franks, company, Franks Auto.
That's just super cool, man.
Yeah, we love it. 0409 481. Oh, let's not put my number on there. 04123 4567.
Same functionality as HubSpot, all these other CRM systems.
Correct. So I can now submit this one, and what you'll actually see is this item will submit. I really hope. There we go. You can have custom success kind of windows of what you want to say. But if I now go back into the system and go to our leads, Bob Franks has just turned up here. So it goes straight into your workflow, and then starts any necessary workflows you've got. So this is a really, that form that we filled in was a really simple form, but our biggest client, Guardian Childcare, actually has an enrollment form, which used to be a 17-page, I think, PDF document that parents had to grab. They couldn't do it, they couldn't fill it in on their phone, so they had to do it on a computer and then email it back or print it out and fill it out and then send it back. It was really painful for them. We've replaced that entire form with an online form that has not been coded at all. It has been configured within the system with the no-code editor to actually capture all the parents' details, emergency details, doctor's details, driver's licenses, all the information that needed to be captured with that, all gets captured and pushed into exactly the right spot within the system for them, and then continues the workflow going forward. That's one of the really powerful things about the forms engine, is those forms can actually be linked to steps in the workflow. So that form can be sent out to a parent, and then that workflow will wait until that form is submitted. Once that form is submitted, it will go to the next step. So now you've got that automation piece.
Yeah, that's great. Can I surface information internal to the system to, let's say it's an AP processing flow, and I want to provide a vendor, for example, with status updates of the invoice processing? Can I surface internal data to the clients as well?
Yes, you can. So any data that is within the application, if you want to send them, let's say it's Friday, every Friday you just want to send the AP thing across to them saying, hey, these are the outstanding things we're waiting for you, and it's a dynamic form that they can kind of fill out. You can fill that whole document, that whole form with data from the system, and then they just click on it, they look at what they need to do, they submit it, and it goes back.
Okay. Mitch, that's really powerful. The obvious statement here is that workflows can integrate with third parties and external business partners. That's just awesome, and it makes it easy. I love it.
Exactly. So that's the third piece. And the fourth piece, as you just touched on there, is workflow. So we built an entire workflow engine. And let's just use performance review as an example. We can come in here, and this is nope, that's a bad example. Let's go this one. Pick the wrong one, always does that. You can actually drag and drop these diagrams. So this is BPMN 2.0, the standard that is used by BAs. But you can actually build this diagram, but then this diagram will actually execute within the system. So this one here, if you look in here, is saying when a performance review item in the table performance review is created, it will kick off this particular workflow. Then it will wait until, and it'll schedule a meeting because that performance review had a meeting date on there. It will wait till a week before that, and it will send a form out to the manager. And that form will be, can you confirm this meeting? Can you tell us that this is going forward? Once you confirm that, it'll actually go to a form to the employee. The employee will be asked to fill out their employee questionnaire. Then once their questionnaire is finished, it will take that information, put it into their manager's questionnaire so they can prep for that meeting as well. And then once both of those are done, it will actually generate a PDF from this document here. So if I double click on that, so it will fill this Word document here in, and as you can see, these can be whatever you need to put in here, and you've got fairly simple templating language in here, and that will actually come up in the workflow here, so you can fill in all those fields within the document with the variables that you need from within the system. It'll generate that document, turn it into a PDF, generate a link, send that link across by email to the proper people, and then you'll actually have the meeting, and from that meeting you'll actually update the database and move forward. So this workflow can be used for, so again, we'll use our biggest client. They use it from somebody putting a form request in from their website all the way through to a child starting in a childcare center. Our system handles everything within that. So that's scheduling calls in telephony systems, that's sending SMSs out to parents, that's asking for enrollment forms, that's booking in tours to make sure that they can come out there, that's rescheduling tours, that's sending thank you SMSs and emails out to them. So the entire workflow is running through the system and captured in the database. And because we have the system, we have all of the system, for each one that we go to, for each performance review, you can actually see exactly which stage they're up to. So the diagrams will actually tell you exactly where they're up to in the process, so that you can, for anything you're looking through the system, you can actually go through and you can actually look at that and be able to go, oh, that's where this one's up to. Okay, why is it stuck there? I'll go and have a look at the notes. I'll go and do everything like that. So the system allows you to be very, very flexible. And one of the biggest things that we always did from the start is we wanted the system to be flexible, to be able to fit the needs that organizations have, rather than expecting organizations to fit our technology, because that's one of the biggest takeaways that we've had, that technology does potentially badly, because that's just how it is.
Yeah, they have to re-architect their business according to their work processes. Like SAP,
correct,
for example, they're horrible for that.
Exactly. So those are the main kind of high level pieces. Any questions that I haven't kind of touched on there?
No, I like the flexibility on the workflow designer, right? And how Rapid can adapt to pre-existing workflow processes. Because, you know, I've been involved with SAP projects where, you know, to do that, they literally charge millions. You know, how,
yes,
like SAP's like price point is off the charts, right? Especially for projects in the public sector. So that flexibility and the ability to kind of graft in with seamlessly is amazing. I really love that. One question I do have is, okay, so let's say I have a client and they're on a pre-existing platform and they don't like it. And they take a look at Rapid and they just love its flexibility. They love how easily it's customizable. They especially love the integration points with their clients or other third parties. They're keen to begin the Rapid journey, so to speak. How do you import existing data into their dynamic database? Do you guys have like pre-existing ETL processes set up where you can extract and load into the new data, into the new tables that the client ultimately creates? Do you
Yeah,
have
so
processes in place for that?
yeah, so there's nuance behind all of those questions. Data import is one of the biggest sticking points for most things, because the answer to the question is yes, we can import those stuff. There is multiple different ways of doing it, because most of the time when we talk to clients, most of the problem actually is the data that they're importing is trash. It is actually really badly segmented. It hasn't been maintained. It hasn't been everything like that because people hate it. And there is a cleanup stage that you actually need to do before you want to import it. Like you want to clean the data up before you do it. So we can just suck stuff in from another system. There's no problems. We can definitely do that. We generally end up cleaning it up in something like Excel or something like that, getting everything to be as clean as we can, alongside the client, and then we have an Excel importer that you can actually just kind of copy and paste that information into the system and just upload it in bulk. So
Right.
that then you've actually got your clean data. It's coming in. You're coming in from a good position of strength, because it is all clean data, and that
Yeah.
really gives you the ability to kind of push through from that point of view.
Yeah.
And one thing I didn't mention earlier was the fact that our API that we have in here is fully secured by Entra ID, but it is the same. There is only one API. There is not a first-party API that we have access to, and a kind of a client API. The API that we use internally to build all of these interfaces and applications is the exact same API that clients have access to, which means
Right.
anything we can do, they can do programmatically. If they want to put a skin over the top of it, they want to put a ETL process in the background, we have the ability to give them all of that access out of the box, no problems.
Right. Awesome. Okay. So that's great. Thanks, Mitch. And one other question, obviously, and this is the obvious one, is how is it secured? Like, I'm assuming you can easily secure module access.
Yes.
Can we have granular security on the actual records as well within a module?
So yes, you sure can. So each item we've got the history table that I was mentioning, but we actually
Yeah.
have security in here as well. So you can actually come in here, you can actually use application security groups or specific users, and they have read, edit, or delete permission to particular items. Tables
Oh, wow.
have create
Okay.
permissions as well,
All right.
which means on
That's good.
item levels, you can do that. On menu levels, you can actually kind of modules, you can take modules out for people. But then you can also use security groups. So if somebody comes in and those security groups actually map back to your Entra security groups, which means you can map it from Entra across to our application, and the data will flow through from all of those.
Okay. Yeah. So the short answer there is security on tables, security on records. And
Correct.
then, yeah, and I imagine
then menus as well. And then from a
menu.
security on database point of view, everything's hosted in SQL Azure. And we have the ability from straight out of the box for people to actually have their databases in their own Azure tenancy, which means they have full access to those databases. They can do backups, they can do geo-replication, and be able to kind of move forward from that point of view. So they own their own data, because one of our biggest things from the start was SaaS companies say, yeah, no, you own your data, but if you ever leave, you leave with a bunch of CSV files or a bunch of Excel files. Like that's what they give you. Like that's not good enough. Like your data is your data. We believe that. So we actually go, yep, if you want to host your stuff, if you're not a big enough organization and you don't want the technical overhead of running in your own Azure subscription, that's fine. We can host it for you. But always a separate database, separate reporting servers for Power BI, so we don't have load balancing issues. But then they can secure it to the levels that they want to. Only our application has access to it, and then we can kind of go out from there to make sure that they're happy with the level of security.
Right. One last question.
Yes.
In terms of the version history of the records within a
Yes.
table,
Yep.
I imagine it's really easy to roll back to pre-existing state.
Yes, you would. If I wanted to roll back, I'd just select the existing state. So I would just select this one, and it's actually changed this back to the state that it was. I would just say save, and you're done.
And then that becomes the head of the records of the version
Correct.
history.
Correct.
Okay,
So that would go back to the top of the version.
Okay. Yeah, that's a nice
So
feature.
yes, super simple. And again, from an auditability point of view, you can see exactly what's changed. You can see the thing that changed on that thing was it went from the status went from nothing to new. So you can go and track what the changes were in an easy way, and be able to go from there. So that's pretty much the high 30,000 foot perspective on the application.